Number 81. Compare both the numbers of protons and electrons present in each to rank the following ions in order of increasing radius. And then we have As3-, Br-, K+, and Mg2+. So what I did here on the left-hand side, I drew a nice little chart where I have my elements in the first column, my number of protons, and then my number of electrons, and we're going to do them for all four of these ions. Then, from there, we can see what the radius will be like comparatively for each of these ions. So let's get started. So let's do As3-. And now, first we got to find out where where arsenic is on the periodic table, and that's over here, right? And remember, in order to find the number of protons, I'm just going to put P over here, it's always equal to the atomic number. And that's always the whole number, and it's the smaller of the two. So if you have your periodic tables out and you see arsenic, you'll see a 33 and then a 74.92. The 33 is the atomic number, and that's always equal to the number of protons. So I know that I have 33 protons for arsenic. This charge in the upper right-hand corner always equals the number of, it's actually the charge dependent on how many electrons there are. So this charge will always mix the electron number, all right? So whenever there's no charge, you should know that the number of protons equals the number of electrons. No charge. The charge will always make that a little bit different. And remember, a negative tells me that I actually gained electrons because electrons are negative. So if you have a negative charge, you really gained electrons. And if you're a positive charge, you really lost electrons because you have more overall protons than electrons. Remember, you can never lose or gain protons for an atom. You can only gain or lose electrons. That's super important. So here, it would be the 33, because protons should equal electrons, but now you gained 3 electrons. So 33 plus 3 is now a total of 36 electrons. So let's do the same thing for the other 3. So let's say that we now have Br-, bromine, and bromine is over here on the periodic table. Bromine has 35 protons. That never changes. But now it's telling me that it's a minus. There's no charge here, so we assume that it's a -1. So that means that it gained 1 electron. So 35 plus 1 is 36 electrons. Next, we got K+. So potassium is over here on the periodic table. Atomic number of 19, that's the number of protons, so 19 protons. And now there's a charge. Charge is of a plus, which means +1. So what does plus mean? That means you actually lost 1 electron. So 19 minus 1 is 18 electrons. And then last but not least, Mg2+, magnesium, is over here on the periodic table. So it has an atomic number of 12, which means that it has 12 protons. And a +2 signifies that you lost 2 electrons. So you have 12 minus 2, which is 10 electrons. Okay, so from here, when we compare, we can rank the following ions in order of increasing radius. So that means if we're going to increasing radius, we should start out small. So the smallest radius has to be on the left side, and the largest radius has to be on the right side. Smallest radius means that it's the smallest ion, as opposed to the largest radius means that it should be the largest ion. All right. Now, rule of thumb. Here is what we got to memorize. If you're more negative, you actually gain in distance of your ion. So we'll just say that your radius increases. So whenever you have a negative charge, your radius will always increase. And the more negative, so I'll just say more negative, bigger radius. So a -3 charge would be bigger than a -2 charge, which would be bigger than a -1, so on and so forth. Positive charges, the more positive you are, your radius will decrease. So those two comparisons are super important. So whenever you have a positive charge, your radius will always decrease. So we can categorize them into two parts now. I have two ions that are negative, As3- and Br-, as opposed to the two positives, potassium and magnesium. Well, we know from this trend, the more positive you are, your radius will decrease. And they wanted you to see that from the number of protons to number of electrons. So from potassium, there was one subatomic particle difference because it was 19 to 18. For magnesium, there was 2 because it was 10 to 12. That's what they want you to do to compare. But I think it's easier to just memorize this trend. So between magnesium and potassium, which one would be smaller? If you said magnesium, you're absolutely right. Magnesium 2+ should be the smallest because it had the biggest plus charge. The bigger the plus charge, the smaller your radius will be. So that would be the smallest. Then comes potassium, because that's also a plus charge. And every time you're a plus, your radius will decrease from the original amount. So that takes care of these two. Now let's focus on the negatives. The more negative you get, the bigger the radius. So from a -3 to a -1, which one would be the largest out of the two? If you said arsenic, you're absolutely right. As3- should be the largest because it has the largest difference in electrons between 33 to 36. And bromine has from 35 to 36, so that's only a difference of 1. So bromine should be right in the middle between the positive and arsenic. So this would be Br-1. And there you go. So always know if you need to rank ions, always look at the charges. You don't have to follow the periodic trend atomic radius rules because they're all scattered all over the place. But if you guys know your charges, aka if you know this information, you will be golden for your tests or quizzes. All right? So this sums it up. Hopefully this helped. If it did, let me know in the comments. Love to hear from you guys. And if you want to click the subscribe button, that will help you out by knowing when we drop our next set of questions. And it will also help the channel out with growing and getting this cool service to everybody that needs it. And I thank you for that. I appreciate you guys so much. Thank you for coming here. I'll see you guys all in the next question. Have an awesome day.